Okay, so this is my budget brew of a partner deck that I put together. I decided to go with Akiri Silas and Silas Wren. So Akiri Lineslinger, she's a 0/3 for 1 white and 1 red, has first strike and vigilance, and also has a built-in cranial plating, which is +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So essentially it's going to be an artifact-driven deck. Okay, with Silas Wren, really just in there to give us the 2 other mana colors, but he's a 2/2 Death Touch, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you can choose an artifact card in your graveyard and cast that card this turn. So it can come in handy sometimes, but I don't use it very often. Right, moving along to the lands, I got 2 of each basics. Just pick some cool full arts that I liked. Okay, and then we move along to the non-basics, starting off with each of the artifact lands. Got the white one, Ancient Den, black one, Vault of Whispers, red one, blue one, and the colorless one. Okay, now for some utility lands. Inventor's Fair is a fairly new card that just came out. It can gain you life during your upkeep. It can also tap for a colorless. Or you can pay 4 and sacrifice it and search your library for an artifact card if you have 3 or more artifacts in play already, and you're going to put it into your hand. Pretty awesome card. And then we have Buried Ruin. So if we lose one of our artifacts, a combo piece or something we really need to help the game state, we can go and get it back. Ghost Quarters, just simple land removal. It's always good to fit into any deck if you can. Tomb of the Spirit Dragon. We have a few ways to make colorless creatures in our deck, so if we end up with a horde of mirror tokens, we can get a little bit of life off of that. Phyrexia's Core lets us sacrifice an artifact to gain a life, but it also has other triggers in here, and I'll go over those as soon as I get to them. Warp Landscape, since we're running 4 colors, it's nice to have a way to fetch up a basic land of a certain color if we happen to need it. Same with Evolving Wilds. Spire of Industry, awesome card. I ended up ripping a foil, and I figured I'd throw it in here since it's a 4-color deck, and half the deck is artifacts. So pay 1 life, add a mana of any color, but you can only do that if you have an artifact. Or you can get a colorless. Command Tower, just as good, adds any one of the 4 colors that we need. And then we got some cheap lands from the Cons block. So there's going to be 6 of these, 1 for each of the dual colors. They just come into play tap and they give you a life. This one's white-red. This one is blue-black. This one is white-blue. And our black-white. And our blue-red. And then our black-red. And then we have 1 each of the bounce lands from Ravnica. So we got Rakdos 1, Orzhov 1, Boros, Azorius, Izzet, and Dimir Aqueduct. Alright, that's it for the lands. So moving on to some spells. Enlightened Tutor. There are a few enchantments in here that are pretty awesome, but a lot of the times we're going to be picking out any one of our artifacts, like Paradox Engine, if we want to get a combo going. So just nice tutor. Whir of Invention, also a tutor. You can search for an artifact, costs X or less, but you can also tap your artifacts to help pay for the cost of it, which is pretty awesome. It's instant speed as well, just like Court of Calling. Beseech the Queen, relatively cheap tutor. The only bad deal is you have to reveal the card. Diabolical Tutor, just a cheap tutor. Decree of Annihilation, kind of had this one just laying around, and I figured I have a lot of mana rocks in here, so it wouldn't be too bad of an idea to cycle this, destroy everybody's lands. Duretti, he can help us cycle through our deck. He can also do a Goblin Welder effect, and he also gets an emblem that says whenever an artifact is put in your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So it's pretty cool. He's price-wise, he's cheap. He does a few things in the deck we want him to do. He's pretty cool. Bludgeon Brawl. Probably one of the silliest Most never used cards ever. But I found a lot of cool things that that go on with this, especially if you're using a ton of mana rocks like we are in this deck. Whenever you have a bunch of mana and it's just sitting around not doing anything, so we can turn all our signets and our key runes and everything into power for Akiri Lineslinger and just make her insanely strong. So it's actually a pretty fun card. Efficient construction. Running tons of artifacts, so every time we cast one, we'll get a 1/1 colorless stopped or artifact creature token. Pretty cool. Pia's Revolution. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to your hand unless target opponent has Pia's Revolution, deal 3 damage to him or her. So it's kind of like Athreos, but it works like for artifacts. Pretty cool. If they're low on life, they're going to let you get them back. Yeah. Interesting addition. Wanted to throw in here, try it out. Elixir of Immortality, obviously just shuffle the library into the graveyard in case if we're getting close to losing by being milled. Relic of Progenitus, removes other graveyards just in case if we're going against some dredgy stuff. Key to the City, sometimes Akiri gets pretty big really fast, and a chump block steps in to save the day, so it's nice to have something that can help us not only get our general through unblockable, but also help us cycle through our deck a little bit. And Key to the City works in both of those aspects, so it's really good in here. Shrine of the Loyal Legions, going back to Tomb of the Spirit Dragons, sorry. If we get a ton of mirror, you know, they count as artifacts. They count for a lot of our triggers in here. We can also gain life off of that land. Just pretty cool. If you get it, you know, get it out on turn 2 and just let it sit there for a while. It's great to pop it off turn 15, 20 if it goes that far and just get a ton of dudes. Shrine of Piercing Vision, same thing, but you just get a Scry X. Or, I mean, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of charge counters on it. Put one into your hand and the rest on the bottom. So it lets you dig for a card if you need one. Paradox Engine. It's another new card. It's a mythic. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. Well, we have a ton of non-land permanents that produce mana. So it can get really crazy really fast with Paradox Engine, as a lot of other things can. Mirrorworks is just a fun win more card. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 2. If you do, you get a token of that. You get a copy of that as a token. So that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, if you throw out a Cranial Plating, you're like, oh, I can just pay 2 more, I'll get an extra Cranial Plating. It's a pretty interesting card. Mask of Avacyn, moving on to the equipments. So anyways, we just want to, I mean, it'll give a little bit of a defense boost to Akiri. Helps out a little bit, but the hexproof is basically why it's in there, and it's one of the cheapest equipments to get that on. So that's why that's here. Same with Swiftfoot Boots. Not really caring a whole lot about the haste. Akiri almost always comes down on turn 2. So yeah, we're just looking at the hexproof on this, and the value is really low. Fire Striker. Gives her double strike. It's pretty cool. Kind of like a win more once you get to that point where you have 20 or 30 artifacts in play, but still pretty cool equipment. And Cranial Plating. It's already built into Akiri, but why not get +2/+0 for each artifact you control? And also you can attach it. You can do trick attacks with it. If you have 2 black mana open, you can attack with 3 random creatures, and whoever goes unblocked, you just pay 2 and slip it onto somebody else and let them get through. Golem Skin Gauntlets. This goes along with Bludgeon Brawl. Basically, if all of our artifacts are going to be, all of our non-equipment, non-creature artifacts are going to be equipments, then this is quite a powerful card. I mean, even with just our 5 artifact lands, we can pay 0 to equip them onto Akiri, and then put this on there for 2 mana, and it's getting +6/+0. Well, +7/+0 because of her ability. So it's pretty sweet with Bludgeon Brawl. Onaginata. Another thing besides making Akiri unblockable, I also wanted to put in a few things that give her trample as well. It's not very hard to get her power above 3, so this isn't an issue whatsoever. I love having this one in here. Again with the Haunted Cloak. I know she already has Vigilance. Haste, not worried about a whole lot, but the trample effect. We're at Battle Horns, also gives it trample and can't be blocked by more than one creature. Tenza, Godosmong. Well, guess what? She's legendary, she's red. So she gets +3/+3 and trample with this. So, pretty sweet. Merchant Dockhand. At first, if you think about this in standard or any other format, it seems like a piece of crap, basically, and it is. But in this deck, it is an all-star. It's just amazing. So we pay 3 and a blue and tap it, and we tap X untapped artifacts we control. Look at the top X cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Whenever we have our Paradox Engine combo going, we're basically cycling through our entire deck 10, 15, 20 times per turn and pulling out whatever artifacts we want. It gets insane. Riddlesmith, just another way to cycle through the deck. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Contraband Kingpin. One of our only enter the battlefield triggers in the deck. I think there's only 2 or 3 in here. But he's really good. He's got a 1/4 body, lifelink, and you get a scry every time an artifact enters the battlefield. So tokens, mana rocks, creatures, whatever, what have you. Reckless Fireweaver. Not too potent in here. I mean, I guess it can get to the point where we can win off of this, but I had a shiny one just laying around, so I threw it in here just to make it a little more fun. Throw some damage in there somehow. Glaze Fiend. Really funny whenever you're dropping 10 to 12 artifacts a turn and bouncing stuff around. Basically, it's a 0/1 flyer, but whenever an artifact comes into play, it triggers and gets +2/+2. So if we crack our Shrine of Loyal Legions for 15, well, guess what? We're attacking with a 30/31 flyer. So it gets pretty crazy too. Mirror Retriever. Whenever he dies, we get an artifact card back from our graveyard and put it in our hand. So that's pretty cool. Pilgrim's Eye. Again, an artifact. Gives us triggers. Gives us cast triggers, enter the battlefield triggers. Also lets us search up a basic land if we're lacking a color. Arcbound Crusher. Whenever another artifact comes into play, gets a +1/+1 counter, and it has trample. So we drop this on turn 3 or 4. It'll get pretty big pretty fast and pose a nice threat. Sanctum Gargoyle. It's a 2/3 flyer. Whenever he comes into play, return an artifact card from the graveyard to your hand. So more recursion. Vidalcan Archmage, the #1 all-star of the deck. Whenever we cast an artifact spell, we get to draw a card. And it becomes very relevant very fast, and people like to kill him as quick as possible because of that. Glass Dusk Hulk, just kind of a cheap addition that I threw in there. Whenever an artifact comes into play, it gets +1/+1 and is unblockable. Not too powerful, but I mean, we can also pitch him and draw another card. He counts as an artifact himself, too. Marionette Master. Not the strongest all-star in the deck, but definitely an all-star of the deck. Because for 2 black, 4 colorless, you get a 1/3 with Fabricate 3. It means whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 3 +1/+1 counters, or you get 3 servo tokens. And the most important part is whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. So if we have a cranial plating on her, say her power is 20, and we sacrifice 2 artifacts, or we lose a couple in a battle, we can easily kill an opponent. So, pretty relevant card, pretty badass. Sun Titan, a little bit more recursion. I mean, it's a pretty low curve. There's lots of permanents we can get back with him, so he's pretty cool to throw in here. Herald of Anguish. 5/5 improvise, flying. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card, or we can pay a black and a colorless, sack an artifact, and a creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. He's pretty cool. I mean, most of the time I get him out for 2 black, and if I have him in hand, he's coming out on turn 4 or 5 or something like that, and just an early flyer that has a couple cool abilities. Then we move along to the mirrors, so we can make more mana and untap non-land permanents with Paradox Engine. Got an alloy mirror, add 1 mana of any color. Then we got 1 for each of our colors. We got iron mirror for red, and then we got gold mirror for white, and then we got leaden mirror for black, and then we got silver mirror for blue. And here are our mana rocks. Got Soul Ring, of course. A dark steel ingot, since we're playing 4 colors, might as well throw that one in there. And we got the 3 talismans we can run, which is Indulgence, which gives us red or black. Dominance, which gives us black or blue. And Progress, which gives us white or blue. And then we have our signets, which are 6. Dimir, Izzet, Rakdos, Orzhov, Boros, Azorius. And then the same 6 for key runes. And these also can turn into creatures and help us in the late game if we need to. If our board gets wiped and we just need to get some damage through. We got the one that turns into a bird, the Azorius. We got the one that becomes a 3/1 devil, Rakdos. Or a 1/1 soldier, double strike is Boros. And then the 1/4 life-linking Thrill is Orzhov. The Dimir one becomes a 2/2 horror. Izzet is a 2/1. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you can draw a card and discard a card, so we can cycle through the deck a little bit. Alright, and then I threw in the monuments from the cons block. These are the ones that become dragons as well. They all become 4/4 dragons that correspond with the colors of mana that they produce. So Silumgar is black-blue, Ojutai is blue-white, and Kalagon is black-red. And that will do it for my budget Akiri Lineslinger and Silas Wren deck. Thank you for watching.